This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to all of you enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Sean's out today, so I'm filling in. And wow, Wall Street has itself in a tizzy over Tesla's first quarter sales. Analysts are sure that Tesla is going to report a drop in sales, and the forecast range anywhere from a drop of 2% to 6% compared to the fourth quarter of last year. The key is going to be to see if sales drop below last year's first quarter. A year ago, Tesla sold 422,875 cars. Anything below that could trigger another drop in the stock price, which is down 29% this year. But Tesla could also prove all those analysts wrong. It started offering free full self-driving for the first month of ownership, as well as $1,000 discounts and free charging. Even so, sales in China slowed dramatically along with the rest of the market there so far this year, and that eco-attack on the plant in Berlin stopped production there for nearly 2 weeks. So Tesla can always blame outside factors if sales do drop below where they were a year ago. But part of the problem with sales of Teslas may have to do with Elon Musk himself. Reuters talked to 5 marketing, polling, and car experts who say substantial numbers of the public are turned off by Musk's right-wing politics and his controversial public statements. And if they're in the market for an EV, many of them have crossed Tesla off their shopping list. In a U.S. survey by a company called Civic Science, 43% of respondents said they had an unfavorable view of Musk, and that's up from 34% 2 years ago. Even so, the brand has the highest loyalty in the industry. 68% of people who buy a Tesla buy another one when they're in the market for a new car. Wow, there's been a lot of management changes at Stellantis North America ever since former COO Mark Stewart left to become the CEO of Goodyear. A month ago, Stella shuffled the top executives handling retail sales, commercial sales, and Stellantis Canada. And now we've got some insight into why this is happening. Cox Automotive reports that the Hyundai Group, which of course includes Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis, the Hyundai Group could outsell Stellantis in the first quarter in the U.S. market. In fact, Cox Automotive says Honda might even outsell Stella by the end of the year. And if that happens, Stellantis could drop to being the number 6 automaker behind General Motors, Ford, Toyota, the Hyundai Group, and Honda. You know, there's a very strong Buy American sentiment in the United States right now, but not when it comes to making steel. Automakers in the U.S. are telling the Biden administration they do not want U.S. steel to be sold to another American company. They want it sold to a Japanese company. President Biden wants U.S. steel to be domestically owned, and the American steel company called Cleveland-Cliffs wants to buy it. But automakers say that would give Cleveland-Cliffs control of up to 90% of the steel used to make cars in the U.S. and 100% of the steel used to make EV motors and electric vehicles. Automakers believe that would give Cleveland-Cliffs a monopoly, which they believe would lead to higher prices for steel. And they much prefer seeing U.S. steel being sold to Nippon Steel from Japan, which is offering to buy it for $14.9 billion.
When the elements are working against you, being confident in your grip on the road is what really matters. Bridgestone Alenza tires, improved acceleration in wet conditions.
The EPA is cracking the GHG whip with heavy-duty trucks and buses. It just issued the strictest emission standards for them. The new rules are for the model years 2027 through 2032, and the EPA says they'll prevent up to 1 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions from being emitted over the next 30 years, and that will provide $13 billion in health benefits. The rules are different for the type of vehicle and how it's used. For example, 30% of heavy-duty vocational trucks and 40% of short-haul day cabs need to be zero tailpipe emissions by 2032. And the trucking industry is not happy, and two groups that represent it issued statements blasting the new standards. They claim the rules are not feasible with current EV technology and that the charging infrastructure is not adequate. The trucking groups also argue the rules will cause supply chain failures and that smaller independent trucking companies will hold on to diesel trucks longer, hurting the EPA's goals. However, the EPA says the rules were crafted to give owners a choice of powertrains and that the new trucks will save operators $3.5 billion in fuel and other costs, which will help to pay for the new EV. Researchers at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee say they've achieved a significant milestone for wireless EV charging. They just demonstrated the highest wireless power transfer level for a light passenger vehicle. Using a polyphase electromagnetic coupling, boy, there's a mouthful, but anyway, using a polyphase electromagnetic coupling coil patented by Oak Ridge, the researchers wirelessly charged a Hyundai Kona EV at 100 kilowatts with 96% efficiency. Oak Ridge says its system reaches power densities 8 to 10 times higher than conventional coil technology and can increase the battery charge state by 50% in under 20 minutes. Wireless charging could help EV adoption since drivers would merely have to park their vehicle over a charging pad instead of having to get out, get a cable, and plug it in. Nissan and Mitsubishi already developed mini cars together for the Japanese market, and now they're partnering to develop vehicles for the North American market for the first time ever. Nissan's first plug-in hybrid for North America will use Mitsubishi components, and Mitsubishi will launch an electric vehicle with Nissan's tech. In addition to that, the two companies will jointly develop a pickup truck that's going to get built in Mexico. It's a 1-ton pickup that could be the replacement for the Frontier, with BEV and PHEV versions being considered. But it's still a ways off. It's not going to hit the market until sometime between 2027 and 2031. The two companies, which have been alliance partners since 2016, are teaming up on products in order to save on development costs. And this doesn't sound very good for Volkswagen or General Motors in China. Reuters reports that SAIC, which makes cars for those automakers, is going to slash its workforce by 30% at the assembly plants that make cars for GM and 10% for the ones that make Volkswagens. SAIC will also cut half the workers at an EV subsidiary called Rising Auto. You know, it's extremely unusual for government-owned Chinese automakers to resort to layoffs, since the main reason those companies exist is to generate jobs. Reuters reports the headcount reduction will come from implementing stricter performance standards and offering buyouts to lower-rated employees. But Reuters also reports that SAIC, VW, and GM are denying that they're going to cut headcount. One thing's for sure, VW's and GM sales in China have been falling fast. Well, one thing's for sure, if EVs aren't selling very well, chopping the price makes a big difference. U.S. sales of the Mustang Mach-E fell more than 50% in January when it lost its $3,750 tax credit. That happened when the Biden administration tightened up eligibility for subsidies based on where materials and components are sourced. So Ford cut the price by more than $8,000, and the impact was immediate. Sales shot up 64% in February, and we'll see how well they did in March when Ford reports its sales this Wednesday. The data analytics firm Cloud Theory says this shows there's actually a lot of demand for EVs as long as the price is right. And that wraps up today's report. And you know, if you like the kind of information that we're providing, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or to our daily newsletter on the Autoline website. And thank you for your consideration.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey, and by Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering. Boost your game. We want to know what drives your testing. OTA, connected car, diagnostics, remote testing. Intrepid Control Systems is here to help you work from anywhere. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.